My wife started going to this so-called book club. Just her and a few girlfriends. I used to laugh about it, told her it was probably more wine than books. Figured they'd sit around, drink Chardonnay, gossip about their husbands, and complain about whoever wasn't in the room. Didn't bother me one bit. In fact, I liked it. Gave me space. I'm 53. Retired a few years ago after I made good money in finance. She's 47. Still looks great for her age. Smart. Put together. We've been married 23 years. Raised 2 kids, both in college now. Big house just outside Houston. Pool, garden, staff, the works. She didn't have to lift a finger unless she wanted to. I stayed busy. Golf, tennis, fishing with the guys. Melanie ran the house. Told me the club met every couple weeks at her friend Jolene's place, some rich widow she used to work with. Huge house on the edge of town. Private, gated, forest all around. Perfect setting for wine, books, and whatever women talk about when husbands aren't around. Or so I thought. At first, it seemed normal. Melanie would come home loose, relaxed, little wine buzz. Talked about the book, kind of. More about the girls, how good it felt to hang out and unwind. I figured, good. Let her have that. Lord knows I've had enough fishing weekends with my buddies. But things started shifting. Little stuff. She'd come home later. Not drunk, but not sober either. Her phone stayed on silent. Started guarding it more. Dressing up more too. Heels, tight jeans, lipstick that didn't match. Book night. Still, I kept my mouth shut. Until I started hearing stories. It started at the country club. One of the older guys was laughing about book clubs his wife used to go to. Said it wasn't books they were flipping through. Then another friend, different circle, said something similar. Different people. Same joke. And one name kept coming up, Jolene. That got my attention. I remembered Melanie had mentioned a Jolene. Said she was fine. Said her house was perfect for hosting. Then I heard something from a guy who worked security for a private escort agency. He didn't name names, just said a group of older women hired them out once a month for private events in the suburbs. Paid cash. No phones allowed. Big gated property near the woods. Said the women were rich, classy, and very much not reading books. The more I heard, the less I laughed. At first, I told myself it couldn't be that Jolene. Not our people. But you know how it is. When something feels off, it probably is. So I started watching. And one night, Melanie came home later than usual. Lipstick a little smudged. Hair not quite right. Her smile a bit too forced. I asked, "Good book?" She blinked. "Huh? Book club. What were y'all reading again?" She hesitated, then said, "Oh, something French. Kinda slow. Title?" She looked away. "I forgot. Jolene picked it." Right then I knew. She wasn't even trying. And still, I didn't blow up. But I started digging. Because here's the truth, the book club wasn't about wine and novels. It was a cover. A neat little excuse for something way darker. See, Jolene didn't just host a few bored housewives. She hired entertainment. Young guys. Muscular. Paid to mingle. First it was harmless flirting. Dancing. Drinks. Then the real game started. Private rooms. Locked doors. And those ladies? They weren't shy for long. Melanie didn't jump in right away. At first, she just drank. Smiled. Watched. But women talk. Friends push. And eventually, she went upstairs too. They told her it was harmless. Just fun. Something to feel young again. They said all kinds of things. And she listened. After that night, I couldn't get it out of my head. Something was off, and it wasn't just paranoia. It was gut deep. She didn't look like someone who just had a glass of wine and talked about page 42. She looked like someone who had just come back from something else. So I did what any sane man would do. I kept my mouth shut and watched. Watched how often she checked her phone. Watched how she smiled when reading messages. Watched how she suddenly had plans every other weekend. It started to add up. And then I brought it up to Mike. Mike's been my best friend since high school. We fish together, play golf, hell, we even retired the same year. Our wives are friends. Real close, actually. And yeah, his wife was part of the book club too. I told him everything. Sat him down with a beer and laid it out plain. At first he laughed. You're telling me Melanie is out there partying with gigolos? Like, hired entertainment? I didn't laugh back. I just looked at him. His smile dropped. Oh, you're serious. I'm dead serious. He leaned back in his chair, stared at the ceiling. After a minute he said, Well, now that you mention it, my wife's been acting kind of weird too. Says the book club's going deep into French literature. And last week I found a thong in the laundry that definitely isn't hers. We sat in silence for a good while. Then we did what any two retired guys with too much time and a sinking feeling would do. We hired a private investigator. Strictly off the books. Discreet. No one from around here. Told him we needed intel on a certain book club, run by a woman named Jolene. He didn't even blink. Give me a month, he said. That month felt like a year. During that time, I played it cool with Melanie. Didn't confront her. I just watched. She'd come home glowing, more relaxed than I'd seen her in years. Almost like she'd found a new purpose. It was sickening. Mike and I stayed in touch almost daily. We were losing sleep, gaining tension. This wasn't just about our wives anymore. It was about knowing the truth, because the truth, even when it hurts, beats walking around blind. When the PI came back, he had more than we expected. Photos, names, schedules, license plates, videos from long-range lenses, even recordings of conversations one of the women had with a dancer she favored. He told us this wasn't just a little housewife fun. It was a system. 20-plus women, most married, all wealthy. Jolene ran the whole thing. Started small, sure, just wine and giggles. But then she started inviting dancers. Young guys. Some barely 25. Strippers from the city. Trainers. Models. Some of them pros, some just hungry. First it was entertainment. Dancing. Flirting. Then came the private rooms. And then the rules disappeared. By the time we were seeing the footage, it was clear these book club nights were full-on underground parties. Drinks, music, sex, and a whole lot of secrets. At the center of it, our wives. Laughing, drinking, going upstairs with strangers. Mike saw his wife on camera, holding hands with a guy young enough to be her son. He just sat there, pale, quiet. I didn't ask him how he felt. I already knew. I saw my wife too, Melanie, in the background of one video, dancing, laughing, glass in hand. One of the guys had his arm around her waist. She didn't push him away. Didn't even flinch. That night, Mike and I sat on his porch till after midnight. Didn't say much. But by the end of it, we agreed on one thing. This couldn't go on. We couldn't keep this to ourselves. After the shock wore off, Mike and I knew we weren't the only ones being lied to. There were other husbands. Men we saw every week on the golf course. Guys who coached Little League with us. Good men, proud of their families, probably clueless like we were. We had to tell them. So we made a list. The PI had names. He tracked every woman coming and going from Jolene's place. We cross-referenced faces, matched names, and slowly started contacting the husbands. Not all of them took it well. Some didn't believe us. Some got angry. One guy straight up told us to leave him out of it, said he didn't want to know. I don't blame him. Denial's a lot more comfortable than truth. But others? They listened. We met at a local steakhouse, private room in the back. No one else around. There were 12 of us, eventually. 12 men who'd had their lives turned inside out by a group of bored housewives with too much time, too much money, and no boundaries. We didn't sit around crying about it. We didn't hug and hold hands. We planned. Mike said, "We all know what's going on. But talking won't change anything." I added, "We can't undo what they did. But we can make damn sure they never pretend it didn't happen." We agreed on one thing: no confrontations at home. No screaming matches in kitchens. No throwing plates. We'd catch them together, red-handed, in their little fantasy world. Next book night was 2 weeks out. We let our wives go. Acted normal. Said things like, "Have fun," and "Tell Jolene I said hi." They smiled. Kissed us on the cheek. Waved as they drove off. Meanwhile, we met at a house nearby. One of the guys owned a property close enough to Jolene's to keep eyes on things. From the backyard, you could see the glow of the windows. Hear faint music if you stood still. We sent Mike in first. He'd circle the house, peek through windows, confirm when things got started. It didn't take long. Around 9:30, he came back, face like stone. "They're in there," he said, laughing, drinking. Few of them already disappeared upstairs with the boys. A couple guys clenched fists. One guy just sat down on the lawn and stared at the dirt. And then it was time. We moved. 12 of us. Quiet. Focused. We weren't armed. We weren't loud. We just walked up and let ourselves in. The music was loud. The lights were low. The smell of perfume and alcohol hit us the second the door opened. Some of the women didn't even notice us right away. They were too busy flirting, dancing, curled up with guys who couldn't grow a real beard. And then, one by one, they saw us. Eyes widened. Glasses dropped. A few stumbled to their feet. It was dead silent for about 5 seconds. Then came the excuses. "Oh my God, what are you doing here? It's not what it looks like. We were just talking." Someone even tried to laugh it off. "It's just harmless fun." Nobody was buying it. I scanned the room. Didn't see Melanie. My heart dropped into my shoes. She wasn't downstairs. I turned and headed toward the hallway. Room after room, doors shut. Some cracked open. Some had voices behind them. Some had more than voices. I felt sick. I opened one door. 2 people scrambled to cover themselves. The guy cursed. The woman shrieked. Wasn't mine. Next room, same story. And then, I heard it. Her laugh. Soft, familiar, and just drunk enough. Coming from behind the last door. I froze. My hand hovered over the doorknob. I knew what I was about to see. And I still wasn't ready. I stood in that hallway longer than I should have. Her voice was on the other side of the door. Laughing. Soft and playful. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard from her in a long time. It was familiar, but not for me. Not anymore. I froze. I wanted to believe I was wrong. That I had the wrong room. That maybe what I heard was just another woman. That maybe Melanie was somewhere else in that house, having a drink, talking about her college years, or whatever harmless excuse she might have come up with. but I knew that laugh. And then I heard him. A younger guy. His voice low, confident. Saying something that made her giggle again. Then a pause, and that sound. That soft breath women make when they're comfortable with someone they shouldn't be comfortable with. I stood there, staring at the doorknob. Everything in me said turn around, walk away, don't look. But something deeper, something heavier, pushed my hand forward. The door wasn't locked. It creaked open. The room was dim, lit only by a bedside lamp that cast a warm glow across the bed and floor. Just enough light to see everything I didn't want to. There she was. My wife. Melanie. Wrapped in a sheet, sitting cross-legged on the bed. Her hair was down, messy. Her shoulders bare. Face flushed. A half-full wine glass dangling from her fingers. She looked happy. Relaxed. Like she was right where she wanted to be. Next to her sat a guy. Shirtless. Young. Maybe mid-20s. Tan. Abs like a gym poster. He had a tattoo on his shoulder, and that kind of smile you only wear when you know you're being paid to please. He looked at me first. Didn't flinch. He grinned, lifted his glass and said, "Hey man, taken. Try another room." Like it was a joke. Then he saw my face. And the grin dropped. He blinked. Sat up straighter. Like he wasn't sure whether to apologize or start dressing. He didn't say a word after that. Melanie turned her head slowly, still smiling, probably thinking it was one of her girlfriends playing a prank. Then she saw me. And her whole world stopped. Her body tensed. Her face went white. The wine glass slipped from her hand and hit the comforter, spilling red across the sheet. She scrambled to pull the blanket tighter around herself, like that would somehow undo what I was seeing. Her lips moved before any sound came out. "John!" I didn't respond. I didn't step in. I just stood there. She started shaking. It's not what it." She couldn't even finish a sentence. The guy stood up now, fumbling for his pants, stepping backward like I was about to charge him. I wasn't. He disappeared into the bathroom, slamming the door behind him. Melanie looked like she wanted to die. Like she was waiting for me to explode. Yell. Throw something. But I didn't. I just looked at her. Long and hard. Then I turned. And walked out. Straight down the hallway, past the stunned faces in the living room, past a couple of her friends trying to cover themselves or stammer out excuses. Past Mike, who just looked at me and gave the smallest nod. Like, "I know, brother." I didn't say a word. Got in my truck. Engine on. Wheels turning. No destination, no music, just road. I drove for maybe 20 minutes before I stopped at the Fairmont downtown. One of the best hotels in Houston. Quiet. Private. Discreet. I checked in under a different name. Top floor suite. Corner room. I sat by the window with a bourbon and just stared out at the skyline. All those blinking lights. All that life. And I felt nothing. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Just this weight in my chest that wouldn't go away. I didn't sleep that night. Barely moved. Just replayed it all in my head. Her face. That guy. The sound of her laugh behind that door. By morning, I was still in the same spot. Same clothes. Same drink, now warm. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a choice. Hers. And now it was my turn to make mine. She came home the next morning. I wasn't there. I stayed at the hotel. Didn't call. Didn't text. Just watched the sun come up over Houston and wondered how long it would take her to realize I wasn't coming back. She must have figured I'd cool off. She probably thought I'd yell, sleep on the couch a few nights, then we'd cry and talk and maybe work through it. She had no idea. On the third day, I checked out. Went home. Quiet. Calm. Pulled into the driveway like it was any other Sunday morning. The lawn was freshly cut. The gardener still showed up, like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I walked in. She was there, sitting at the kitchen table. Same robe she always wore. No makeup. Hair tied back. She looked like a ghost of herself. When she saw me, she stood up fast. "John!" I didn't stop walking. She came around the table, her eyes already watering. "Please, can we talk? Please." I dropped my bag by the stairs. She reached for my arm. I didn't flinch, but I didn't stop either. "You didn't answer. I've been calling, texting, John, please." I finally looked at her and said one word. "Sit." She froze, then nodded and sat back down. I poured a glass of water, took my time, sat across from her. She looked like she was about to fall apart. "I messed up," she started. "I don't even know how to begin." "Then don't," I said. She blinked. "What?" "I don't want your speech. I don't need the tears, that I didn't mean to, the excuses. I saw enough. It wasn't like that. You were in bed with him." Her mouth opened, closed. "I didn't plan it. I swear. I never meant for it to get that far. But it did. I was drunk." I slammed the glass down, not hard, but enough that it stopped her mid-sentence. "You think being drunk makes this better?" She covered her face. It just happened." "No," I said. "It didn't just happen. You dressed up. You got in the car. You drank. You danced. You smiled. You walked upstairs. And then you got in bed." Tears started rolling down her cheeks. She didn't even wipe them. I stood up, walked around the kitchen, took a breath. "You remember when we met?" I asked. "You were the sharpest person in that office. You knew how to run everything. You always had a plan." She nodded slowly. "So don't sit here now and pretend this was some accident. You knew what you were doing. You just didn't think I'd ever find out." Silence. Then I said it. "You're leaving." She looked up, shocked. "What?" "You heard me. You're packing your things and you're leaving this house. Today. This is my home too." "No," I cut her off. "It's mine. I paid for every inch of it. You gave up your right to it the moment you gave yourself to someone else." She stood up, shaky. "Where am I supposed to go? Back to Jolene's. Or maybe one of your little friends will take you in. I don't care. But you won't be here." She tried again. "Can't we talk about this? Work through it?" "No. I can change. You already did." I walked to the office and pulled a manila folder from the desk drawer. Set it on the table. Inside, a printed bank statement, her credit cards, a list of accounts I'd already frozen. "You'll notice the cards don't work anymore. I suggest finding a job. Maybe secretarial work. You've got experience." She looked like I punched her in the gut. "I've already talked to my lawyers. The house stays with me. The money's locked up. After what you did, you won't get a dime without a fight, and I've got better lawyers." She finally sat down again, shaking. "I don't have anywhere to go. Not my problem." She tried one last time. "The kids, they're adults. They'll know the truth. And I promise you, if you try to twist this around, I'll show them everything." She didn't argue after that. Just sat there, broken. And I turned, walked upstairs, and started packing her bags. She packed her things in silence. Didn't argue. Didn't beg again. Maybe she knew it was over. Maybe she was just too stunned to keep fighting. I watched her carry her bags out the front door. 2 suitcases, a purse, and the look of someone who'd finally realized what she'd thrown away. I didn't ask where she was going. Didn't care. I stood in the doorway as she pulled out of the driveway in her car, the one I bought her last Christmas, and I didn't wave. Didn't nod. Just closed the door behind me and locked it. The quiet after that? It wasn't peaceful. Not yet. But it was honest. The next few days were strange. At first, it felt like a relief. No more fake smiles. No more excuses. No more pretending I was just imagining things. But then the calls started. One of the husbands we'd talked to, Dave, called me up. "You hear what's going on?" "No. It's out. People are talking." Turns out, word had gotten around. Fast. Someone, maybe one of the dancers, maybe one of the wives trying to cover her tracks, had spilled to the wrong person. Or maybe the right one. And now the whole thing was spreading like wildfire. People were whispering about a secret club of wealthy housewives doing God knows what behind gated walls. About Jolene. About young company being brought in. About husbands showing up uninvited. By the end of the week, it wasn't a secret anymore. A local gossip blog picked it up first. Then one of the smaller news sites ran a piece. "Scandal at Suburban Estate, Elite Women's Club under fire." It didn't name names. But everyone knew. And when people start to know, everything starts to unravel. Melody called me once. I didn't pick up. She left a message. Something like, "I didn't think it would go this far. Please, if the kids ask anything, don't make it worse." Make it worse? She'd burned down our life with a smile on her face and a glass of wine in her hand. I wasn't about to take the blame for the ashes. Then came the fallout. A few of the husbands filed for divorce. Quick, clean, brutal. A couple of the women tried to deny they were ever involved. Said it was book night and nothing more. But pictures were already out. Screenshots. Testimonies. People talked. Jolene vanished. Packed up and left for a spa retreat, according to some friend. Translation: she skipped town before more lawyers came knocking. Some of the younger guys, the entertainers, started bragging. Couldn't help themselves. You put a 25-year-old with a 6-figure cash flow and no discipline, and yeah, he's gonna open his mouth. I heard one of them tried to sell a story to a magazine. Said he provided company for over a dozen married women, many of them influential. And Melanie? She tried to stay quiet. But quiet doesn't help when your face ends up in someone's group chat. Eventually, she moved in with some cousin in Austin. One of her cards bounced at the pharmacy, and a clerk, who happened to recognize her, told someone, who told someone else, and boom, now she was that woman from the club who lost everything. Even the kids found out. I didn't say a word. Didn't have to. They're grown. They read. They hear things. My daughter called me one night. She didn't ask for details. Just said, "I love you, Dad. I'm proud of how you're handling it." That meant more than anything Melanie could have said. And Mike? Yeah. He filed too. Said his wife cried for 3 days straight, then admitted it had been going on for over a year. We don't talk about it much. Not because we're ashamed, but because there's only so much garbage a man can carry before it starts weighing him down again. We still fish. Still play golf. Sometimes we joke about starting our own club. No wine. No secrets. Just guys who got burned and didn't break. After the dust started to settle, I shifted into cleanup mode. No more shock. No more sitting in silence. I was done bleeding. It was time to lock everything down. First stop, my lawyer. I've used the same firm for years. Real sharks. Not the types that send polite letters and wait. These guys move fast, file hard, and make sure no one walks away with what they didn't earn. I sat down across from my guy. Big office, dark wood, wall full of degrees. He asked me one question. "You want scorched earth?" I said, "I want justice. And I want her out of my life for good." He nodded. Within 2 days, every joint account was frozen. Credit cards shut down. Access to anything I didn't personally authorize, gone. Melanie had nothing to stand on. She tried to contact me through her cousin. A message passed along through someone else. "Tell him I don't want money. Just time to figure things out." Time? She had 23 years of it. She used it poorly. I told the cousin not to deliver anything else. Then we filed for divorce. The paperwork was clean, ironclad. Grounds: misconduct, abandonment of marital trust. Her lawyer tried to negotiate. Claimed she'd been coerced, emotionally vulnerable, taken advantage of. They wanted a settlement. Some spousal support. Partial property. My lawyer laughed. We had evidence. Photos. Video. Witnesses, including other husbands who were ready to testify. She walked away with nothing. And that's how it should be. You don't burn the house down and then ask for furniture on the way out. I rekeyed the house. Changed all the passcodes. Updated titles. Locked down every asset, just in case she got desperate. I even canceled the cleaning crew and rehired new staff. Fresh eyes. No ties. The only thing I didn't touch was her closet, not because I cared, but because I wanted her to see it when she came back for the last time. Empty. Just empty space where her life used to be. When she came to pick up the last of her things, she didn't speak. Not one word. She looked thinner. Older. That sharpness in her face was gone. She stood in the doorway for a second. Like she thought I might say something. I didn't. She gathered what was left, packed it into her cousin's car, and drove off without a wave. I stood at the window, watched the car turn down the road, and let out a long, quiet breath. Not relief. Not satisfaction. Just air leaving my chest, the kind that had been stuck there for weeks. I knew people were talking. Neighbors. Church friends. Local women who used to fawn over Melanie's outfits and ask her who did her nails. Now they looked at me with half-sad, half-curious stares. One guy at the golf club gave me a slap on the back and said, "Tough break, buddy. Heard she really screwed up." I didn't answer, because it wasn't a break. It wasn't bad luck. It was a choice. Her choice. And mine was not to let it define me. Mike and I kept up our routine. Thursday morning golf. Saturday fishing when the weather allowed. Sometimes we get quiet and just sit on the water. Once he looked over and said, "You ever wonder how it got like this?" I said, "No. I already know. Some people just never stop needing attention." We didn't talk about it much after that. Some of the other guys from our little club moved on fast. One remarried within 6 months. Another moved to Colorado. Me, I stayed put. Didn't want to start over. Didn't need to chase anything. I had peace now. Real peace. Not silence filled with lies. And if that meant eating dinner alone sometimes, or waking up to an empty bed, so be it. I hadn't seen her in months. Honestly, I thought I never would. She was gone. From my house, my life, my mind. I'd moved on, not into some new love story, but into silence. And I liked it that way. Then one day, I stopped into a cafe I'd been going to for a while. Middle of the day. Regular crowd. Quiet music. Good coffee. I'd just sat down when I looked up and saw her. Melanie. She froze when she saw me. I thought she might turn around and walk out. But she didn't. She walked up. Cautiously. Almost hopeful. "Hi," she said. "Do you mind if I sit?" I stared at her for a long second, then nodded. She sat down gently, like one wrong move might scare me off. "I didn't expect to see you," she said. I didn't answer. I wanted to talk. Just for a few minutes." Still, I said nothing. "I know I have no right. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. But I've been carrying this around for a while. What I did, what I destroyed. I think about it every day." I leaned back. Waited. She took a breath. "I hurt you. Worse than I've hurt anyone. And I hate myself for that." I let the silence hang. "I thought what I needed was excitement," she said. "Something to wake me up. But all I did was tear everything apart. And I know I can't fix it. I wanted you to know I'm sorry." I looked at her for the first time since she sat down. She looked different now. Not older, just emptied out. Then she said it. She looked straight at me and whispered, "And maybe that's what hurt most. You didn't even fight for it." That did it. I stared at her, hard. And then, without a word, I reached across the table, grabbed her face gently but firmly with both hands, and kissed her. Not soft. Not sweet. Hard. Deep. Controlled. I pulled her in, one hand in her hair, the other cradling the back of her head, like I was about to drag her soul through that moment. And she kissed me back. Full. Without hesitation. Her body leaned into mine across the table like she'd been starving for it. Like she'd been dreaming about it every night since she left. Then I broke it. Pulled away fast. She gasped. Her eyes wide. Breathing hard. Lips still parted. She looked like she'd been punched in the chest. And then I said calmly, "That wasn't for love." She blinked. "That was for pain." I leaned closer, voice low and razor sharp. "So you'd know what it feels like to taste hope for 2 seconds and have it ripped away." She just stared at me. Her mouth moved like she wanted to say something, but no sound came out. "Now you understand what I felt walking into that room. You don't get closure, Mel. You get silence." Then I stood up, dropped a 20 on the table, and walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. After that meeting in the cafe, there was no more noise. She didn't reach out again. Didn't text. Didn't show up. Good. Because there was nothing left to say. It wasn't closure. It wasn't forgiveness. It was just final. And honestly, that was enough. I didn't jump into anything new. No dating apps. No flirty bartenders. No desperate attempts to move on. I didn't need noise to drown it out. I needed silence. And that's what I kept. The house felt different now. Lighter. No perfume hanging in the air. No wine glasses left out. No passive-aggressive notes stuck to the fridge. Just me. My space. My time. I started waking up early again. Real early. Before the sun. Sometimes I'd sit on the back porch with coffee and just breathe in the quiet. It wasn't peace right away. But it was clean. Mike and I stayed close. He got his own place not long after the divorce, smaller, simple. Said he didn't need much space anymore. We still went fishing. Still played golf. Still drank bourbon and sat in silence when the words weren't worth saying. One evening, we were out by the lake. Light fading. Rods in the water. And he asked, "You think we'll ever get over it?" I said, "We don't have to. We just outlive it." He didn't say anything after that. Just nodded. That's how we operate now. No drama. No rehashing. Just surviving in the most honest way a man can, by not pretending. Some of the guys from our little crew scattered. One moved to Arizona. Another started dating someone half his age. Good for them. Me? I stayed right where I was. Not because I was stuck. Because I wanted to rebuild on my own ground. Not run from it. Not repaint it. Just re-own it. Melanie faded from town life. Word is, she moved in with a distant cousin. Tried to get a job. Didn't last long. People remember. And women like her? They live with whispers louder than any courtroom sentence. Once or twice, I heard from mutual friends that she'd asked about me. If I was doing okay. If I was seeing anyone. They never got an answer. Let her wonder. Let her sit with the silence the same way I had to. My kids, they knew enough. I never gave them the dirty details, but they're smart. They heard the rumors. They connected the dots. And they stayed close. That meant everything. My daughter told me once, "You didn't lose her, Dad. She lost you." Yeah, that felt right. So here I am now. Living simple. Eating what I want. Waking up when I want. No one lying next to me. But no one lying to me either. And that's worth everything. I'm not bitter. Not broken. Not waiting for karma. I'm just done. And I've never been more free.